Hello again, welcome to your new class. Class number 175, and today we start with our favorite Frenchman. No, he's my second favorite Frenchman. My favorite Frenchman is his nephew. Aquí está su nephew, François Monet. But today I'm going to introduce you again to Pierre Monet. He's a translator, if you remember. He's a translator and interpreter in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ministerio de Asuntos Exteriores. Asuntos, affairs. The Foreign Ministry. In England, they call it the Foreign Office. In Great Britain, the Foreign Office. In the United States, the State Department, or the Department of State. So, Pierre Monet, escrito Monet. Pierre Monet, are you ready? All right. Pierre Monet, todo está en el pasado, Pierre Monet considered himself an artist and a technician in the difficult job of translating. He was happy because he was going to meet the Prime Minister of France the next day. The Prime Minister wanted to congratulate Pierre on a job well done. For Pierre, it was simply another translation job, and he did it like he did every translation. This time, however, he did a special job. Last Tuesday, he received a document from the office of the Prime Minister. It was a speech in French that the Prime Minister was going to give in front of the British Parliament in English. The instructions were simply to translate the document into English. However, Pierre knew that the Prime Minister didn't speak English well, so he made the decision to translate the speech into simple, direct English. The problem was that the Prime Minister always wrote his speeches in a complicated French. So, Pierre had to do more than translating. He had to change the style of the speech completely without changing the power of the message. He started the document at 9:30 in the morning and finished it just before 3 p.m. His boss sent the translation by special email to the office of the Prime Minister. 2 days later, the boss received a telephone call from the Prime Minister himself, inviting him and Pierre, está aquí creo, to a coffee the next day. The Prime Minister told Pierre's boss that when he read the speech, he was surprised at first. It was so different from the speech in French. But as he continued reading it, he saw that the message was perfectly expressed. In fact, he thought that Pierre's version was a new speech that was more effective and more powerful than the original. Pierre's boss congratulated Pierre. He was as excited as his translator about the opportunity to have a coffee with the Prime Minister. And you see in the picture, you see Pierre this is Pierre. Remember, this is Pierre. All right. So you see Pierre with his boss, and the boss is shaking hands with the Prime Minister. And Pierre is just there, looking. Pierre, translating is a difficult job. Translating well. Not many people translate well. To translate well, you must understand the original perfectly. And second, you must translate it into good prose in the destination language. So Pierre Monet considered himself, se consideraba a sí mismo, To consider. Consider is considerar. I consider you a good student. Do you consider me a good teacher? Well, then we consider each other good in our respective responsibilities. Me as a teacher and you as a student. So, Pierre Monet considered himself, se consideraba a sí mismo, an artist and a technician. Artist. Sí, hay mucho de arte y también mucho de técnica in translating well. Not many people do it, I repeat. Pierre Monet, how did he consider himself? How did he consider himself? He considered himself an artist and a technician in the difficult job of translating. It's not easy. It's not easy. Very few people translate well. Very, very few. In the difficult job of translating. Fíjate aquí en la difícil tarea de traducir. Claro, of es una preposición. And in English, after the preposition, we always use ing, el gerundio, gerund, translating. In the difficult job of translating. En español, el definitivo, la difícil tarea de traducir. In the difficult job of translating. All right. So, how did Pierre consider himself? He considered himself an artist and a technician. All right. Was he happy today? Was he happy? Yes, he was. Why was he happy? Well, he was happy because he was going to meet somebody. So what? So what means qué? Well, the other day, he wasn't going to meet just anybody. Well, who was he going to meet? He was going to meet the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of England? Of Great Britain? No, the Prime Minister of France. Oh. Is the Prime Minister the most important person in France? No, the President and the Prime Minister. But he was going to meet the Prime Minister. And when was he going to meet him? The following day. He was going to meet him the next day. And why did the Prime Minister want to meet Pierre? Well, he wanted to meet Pierre because he wanted to congratulate him. Darle la enhorabuena. Congratularle. He wanted to congratulate him on, siempre on después de congratulate, not for. He wanted to congratulate Pierre on a job well done. On a job well done? Yes. Well, what kind of job? A translation job. Oh. For Pierre, was this translation a special translation? Well, yes and no. It was a special translation because it was from the Prime Minister. But it was like any other translation. And this is true. When you translate, the idea is to convey the message powerfully and not to change the message. The message stays and it's powerful. So you read and then you understand and you write. You don't translate line by line or sentence by sentence or word by word. All right. So the Prime Minister wanted to congratulate Pierre on a job well done. For Pierre, was it a special job? Well, I told you, yes, it was special. It was special because it was from the Prime Minister's office. But for Pierre, it was not more difficult or less difficult than any other translation job. All right. When did he receive the document? Well, he received it. When did he receive? When did he receive? When did Pierre receive? When did Pierre? When did he receive the document? He received it, primera columna, regulares. Received it, enlacemos. He received it last Tuesday. All right. What office was it from? The document, it was from the office of the Prime Minister. What was it, a report? No, it wasn't. What was it? It was a speech. Oh, it was a speech. Yeah. What does speech mean? Come on, you know speech. What does speech mean? To speak is hablar, yes, but what does speech mean? What does speech mean? How do you say speech in Spanish? Discurso. Ah, conferencia para discurso. Aquí discurso. It was a speech. The document was a speech. In writing. In writing. Por escrito. Writing con T simple. Escribiendo como writing. In writing. Okay, was it in French? Yes, it was. But wait. But it was a speech. Was the speech for the French Parliament? No. The Prime Minister is going to give a speech in the future in London in front of the British Parliament. Really? Why? It's a state visit. It's a what? It's a state visit. What's that? A state visit. Una visita del Estado. Una visita de Estado. Of the French government to London with the British government. Oh, the President and the Prime Minister and the Cabinet Ministers. Ministros del Gabinete, o sea, del Consejo de Ministros. The Cabinet Ministers. The President, the Prime Minister, and the Cabinet Ministers are planning to go to London for a 3-day state visit. And one of the moments the Prime Minister will give a speech in the House of Commons. La Cámara de los Comunes, the House of Commons. Oh, wow. The British Parliament. But the British Parliament has the House of Commons and the House of Lords. The Prime Minister will give a speech in the House of Commons. In English, of course. But the speech is in French. You said the speech was in French. Yes. And that's why. ¿Cómo? That's why. Perdona? That's why. Es por eso. That's why. Es por eso, por lo que. That's why Pierre needed to translate it. Because the speech was written in French. Last Tuesday, Pierre translated it into English. Se puede decir, Pierre translated it to English or translated it into English. A purist would say into English. So, seamos puristas hoy. So, Pierre translated the speech into English. All right. The speech was in French. And the speech was for the British Parliament. And were there any instructions about the translation? No. No special instructions. The instructions were simply to translate the document into English. The instructions were simply to translate the document into English. All right. So, did Pierre immediately start? I don't know. I don't think so. Pierre thought for a moment. Se puso a pensar. He thought for a moment about the Prime Minister. Because he knew something about the Prime Minister. Pierre knew the Prime Minister. No. Pierre didn't know the Prime Minister. Personally, no. But he knew something about the Prime Minister. Something secret? No. He didn't know anything secret about the Prime Minister, but he knew that the Prime Minister always wrote his speeches in complicated French. Yes, muy enrevesado, in very complicated French. Pierre knew this because Pierre has heard the Prime Minister speak many times. And he knows very well that the Prime Minister has a tendency to be flowery, florido, and complicated. All right. And what else did Pierre know? What else? ¿Qué más? What else? What else? What else? What else did Pierre know? He also knew that the Prime Minister didn't speak English very well. I mean, the Prime Minister had an intermediate level of English. So, there's a problem here because the Prime Minister doesn't speak English very well. And he needs to give a speech in English. And if the speech is flowery and complicated in English, it's almost impossible. So Pierre made a decision. Unilaterally, he made a decision por cuenta propia. He made a decision on his own. Really? Isn't that dangerous? Well, Pierre is a veteran translator. He's a what? Pierre is a veteran ¿Qué? Veteran. What does veteran mean? Veterano. Anda. ¿Cómo lo has dicho? Veteran. Has dicho dos sílabas. Well, there are three. Veteran. Veteran. But when we speak naturally, you say veteran. Veteran. Pierre was a veteran translator, and he knew that the Prime Minister was going to have problems giving the speech if the style of the speech was the same in English as in French. So he made the decision not only to translate the document into English, but to change the style of the document, to simplify it, without abandoning the message and conserving or keeping the power of the message. That's not easy. That requires, eso exige, that requires an intelligent and experienced translator. Don't you agree? Don't you agree with me? All right, so where are we? So Pierre had to do more than just translating. He had to change the style. And did he change the style? Que si cambió el estilo. Sí, yeah. Did he change the style? Did he? Did he really? Did he really change the style? Yes, he did. He changed the style of the speech. But did he change the message? No, he didn't change the message. So he changed the style without changing. Without is sin cambiar. So en inglés decimos sin cambiando. He changed, without is a preposition. So he changed the style of the speech without changing the power of the message. Message? Mensaje. Message. No es massage. No, massage is different. Masaje, no. Mensaje. Message. Send a message to Michael. Message. When did he start? Did he do the document did he translate it on Tuesday? Last Tuesday? Yes, he did. When did he start translating? He started at 9:30. Remember, he gets to the office. He gets to the ministry at 8. And he saw the document at 8 o'clock. He read part of the document. Said, "Woof, this is very florid, very flowery, typical of the Prime Minister." At 9:30 he began. At 9:30 he started. At 9:30 at night? No, at 9:30 in the morning. And did he finish it on the same day? Yes, he did. Wow, not bad. Well, the speech was 8 pages long. Well, 8 pages are a lot of pages. Yes, but 8 pages, double space. So, 4 pages really. Well, still significa todavía, pero también significa aún así. Nevertheless, still, 4 pages is long. Yeah, well, it's typical of the Prime Minister. All right. So he started translating the document at 9:30. What time did he finish it? Excuse me? What time did he What time did he finish it? He finished it. Finished it. Note la D de finished. Segunda columna. De los regulares. He finished it at 3 p.m. Did he send it to the Prime Minister's office? Well, no, personally, no, he didn't send it to the Prime Minister's office. Well, what did he do? He didn't do anything. He started with another document. Well, did the Prime Minister receive the document? Yes, he did. Well, then how did he receive it? Pierre's boss sent the document. Oh. Did he send the document by email? Yes and no. He sent the document by special email, which is protected, supposedly. All right. From hackers and people like that. Did the Prime Minister react? Yes, the Prime Minister contacted Pierre's boss. Really? Yeah. When did the Prime Minister contact Pierre's boss? The Prime Minister, well, he contacted him. He contacted, tercera persona, tercera columna. He contacted him 2 days later. He didn't contact him the next day. He contacted him the following day, 2 days later. And how did he contact him? He called him. Yes. Pierre's boss received a telephone call. Llamada telefónica. Pierre's boss received a telephone call from the Prime Minister. Really? Yeah. And what did the Prime Minister say? Well, the Prime Minister invited Pierre and his boss to the ministry for a coffee. He invited them, the two, Pierre and his boss, he invited them to have a coffee the next day. Really? Where? In the Prime Minister's palace, Palacio del Primer Ministro. Oh. Did he speak to Pierre's boss? Yes, he did. He spoke to Pierre's boss. What did he say? Well, he told Pierre's boss that when he read the speech, he was surprised. At first. Yeah? He said he was surprised. Yes, he said he was surprised. And why was he surprised? He was surprised because he found the speech, he found the speech very different from the original. I mean, the Prime Minister's English is not the best in the world. It's not good, but he understands well. He can read English well. And he noticed, segunda columna, he noticed that it was very different from, or different than, the original. Los británicos very different to the original. To the original. And he was surprised. But conforme seguía, as he continued, dos letritas, a medida que seguía leyendo, but as he continued, first column, as he continued reading, he saw something. He saw something. He saw something. What did he see? What did he see? Yeah, what did he see? Well, he saw that the message was perfectly expressed. Segunda columna. En este caso, participio expresado. El mensaje fue perfectamente, o era perfectamente expresado. In fact, he thought something about Pierre's version. What did he think about Pierre's version of the speech? What did he think? What did he think? Yes, what did he think? Okay, he thought that Pierre's version was better than the original, more powerful and more effective. Effective? Yes, effective, efectivo, eficaz. Oh. So he thought the new speech, the new version, the Prime Minister thought the new version was more effective and more powerful than the original. And so he congratulated Pierre and Pierre's boss. And Pierre's boss, after hanging up, went to Pierre's office and said, Pierre, congratulations. The Prime Minister just called. And he's inviting you and me to have a coffee tomorrow in the Prime Minister's palace. Really? Yeah. Yeah, he wants to congratulate you. He likes the speech very, very much. But Pierre, mira la cara de este chico. Look at his face. It's a typical civil servant, okay? Isn't he? Translator. But he was happy as well. And so, a coffee with the Prime Minister. Not bad. See you tomorrow.